Renee, and
I'm Gil.
and so you guys have probably seen videos of us, and you're just probably trying to figure out, well, who are these people, and what are they on here for, and why should we listen to them? And we've kind of shared that before. We will celebrate 35 years of marriage this December, and we are passionate about our relationship with God and our marriage. Because when we got married, we didn't have anyone to really talk to us about all the things that you go through when you're married. Yeah, we have aunts and uncles, but our parents were gone when we were younger. And so we got asked a lot about marriage. And so we decided that we were going to be the solution to the problem that we faced ourselves. And so Gil is going to kind of just tell you a little bit about why he wants. I mean, why is marriage important to you, Dave?
Marriage is important because for me, when I started out, even as a young boy, I wanted to be married from the very beginning. So even as I grew and I knew that was just something that I wanted to do, I just figured if you're going to do something, you should just try to do and be the best that you can at what it is that you choose to do. Some people choose a vocation, some people choose a hobby, some people choose sports and all these different types of things. That was just something that I had pursued and I desired. And when I found Renee and we got together and became a couple, that was something that I wanted to be the best that I could be at being her husband.
And I think you've done a really great job of being my husband and being my best friend and being a good father and being a good uncle and being a good airman. I don't know if you guys saw this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We got a whole lot of questions, a whole lot of comments, and a whole lot of feedback about this whole phenomenon of would you date a bus driver? And I kind of shared it that I did date a bus driver. And that wasn't just us making something up. I did in my teenage years date a bus driver. I'll say his name. His name was Jerome. I was probably 17 and he was much older than me, of course. For those of you who are wondering about have I ever been, it seems like we've been together forever, but we did have lives before we met each other. Even though we met at 14, we got married at 21. I did date. We didn't really start becoming a couple until we were 18 is when we really committed to being a couple. And so I did date someone that was in a role as a bus driver. And so I just think that so many times we just miss out on what God has for us because we have all these things in our mind that have nothing to do with what really matters. Because I dated a bus driver, but I married an airman. And I was a cosmetologist. I went to cosmetology school. He helped me get through school by taking me to school, taking me on rides. I mean, he took me to school every day, made sure I had lunch money. Even when I was too prideful to ask for lunch money, he made sure I had lunch money. He put money in my purse without me knowing about it. And I thought that that was really honorable of him. And I said a lot about his character. And so we're just, this whole journey for us of really launching into YouTube has been something that's been a great way. We felt like people need help and they won't ask for help. So we felt that we would go to where the people are. And where is everybody at? The internet and on YouTube. And so one of the questions I want to answer that we got in the beginning when we first started this whole YouTube journey was, I won't say the person's name because I want to make sure that when you guys ask questions, you don't feel that we're calling you out. So the question that we received was, what do you do when you're married to someone and your family doesn't like the person that you're married to? Gil's going to handle the chat and he's going to answer any questions. So if you are not going to be watching this live, if you have questions about marriage and relationships, feel free to send us an email at richrelationshipsrefuge@gmail.com. But for those of you who are here live, thank you. Thanks for joining us. We're so excited to have you here. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Gil's going to man the chat. But the question was, what do you do when you marry someone and your family doesn't like them? That's a heavy question. And so I want to let, Gil, do you want to answer the question first?
No, you start out because I'm looking here.
Okay, he's reading the chat. Okay, so I'm going to start off with that. So what do you do when you marry someone and your parents or your family doesn't like them? Well, it's not to say that because you're married to them that what other people think is like, well, honestly, by the time you marry someone, what they thought mattered before you married them. But once you marry someone, you have to take into consideration that marriage is not just you and your spouse. Although primarily it is, but the overall effects of your marriage don't just benefit or affect you, it affects everyone. And so sometimes your parents don't like them because they see things that you don't see. And so I think that over time, you have to give your parents and your family the time to get to know about them what you know about them. You can't make your family like the person you're married to. Just like you can't make them, you can make them dislike them, but you can't make them like them. So I think a part of it is just being patient with the whole process of giving your parents the time to see in that person maybe what you saw. Because as parents, sometimes we can be very protective, very guarded about our children. And so I think that sometimes we cannot be objective. So I would say the best thing to do from my perspective would be to give your parents the time to pray and to give your parents the time to see in that person what you saw in them, as long as it's healthy.
I think if you come across a situation like that, sometimes you can think it's my responsibility to check my
Yes, I love
spouse's
that.
family and tell them, where it becomes a very combative type of scenario, and that's never going to benefit any of the relationships.
Right.
If you're in a scenario where your family doesn't like one or the other, depending on which side, obviously it's usually the
Yes.
other side. My family doesn't like hers, and her family don't like me. Well, it's up to me to deal with my family
Yes.
and talk to them and to guard this relationship, because if this is somebody that I've chosen to be my significant other, my mate, my partner for life, then it is my responsibilities to tell my family how I feel. While their opinions and their concern for my well-being and my emotional health and all those things are important, that should not override what you are going to do, because let's face it, we're grown. You're going to do what you want to do anyway. If that person has been someone that you wanted to date or you wanted to be with, you're going to be with them regardless. They call it the rose colored glasses syndrome, where you can't see anything that your family sees, or this person or somebody else that may be in your life that has a voice in the decisions that you make. You're not going to hear them very well. So if you take that into account, or you don't at least heed what they're advising you of, you're not going to hear, and it's going to cause a problem, not only in your family type oriented relationship, but it's going to cause a problem in the relationship here.
So you mean to tell me that it's not my job to check your family about what's going on between
No.
us? It's
No.
my job to check my family.
Right.
And it's your job to check your family.
Because what's going to happen is you're going to start having problems inside and outside. Inside of this relationship, but on the outside with your extended family.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we always did, and I always respected and loved about Gil. Gil was always really close to his mom, and he had a lot of respect for his mom. But when his mom tried to tell us about marriage, Gil let his mom, he told her, he said, Mom, you weren't married successfully, so you can't tell us about marriage.
Now you can advise me and give us advice about the things that we should work on and things that we should not do if we want to get a divorce. So therefore, I definitely listened on that side, because those are the things that are going to be beneficial for me and us later on down the road, or as things come up, you at least have a point to start with, a point of reference that you can look at and say, you know what? I remember Mom saying such and such.
Yeah.
And that is definitely going to be valuable information that you're going to heed and you're going to listen to and you're going to want to have at your disposal when it's time that you need it.
Yeah.
So that's why we are kind of coming on live, because we get a lot of questions. We work with couples on a really regular, consistent basis, in person and virtually, and those types of things. And sometimes they don't have access to say, you know what, well, I got a question about this, and in a setting, in a form, while it may be great to have some entertainment and YouTube, it's the weekend, it's going into, and everybody's enjoying and relaxing and chilling out. But this is just a time where we just want to have a casual conversation. If you had something that you wanted to bring up and talk about, we're here to discuss and here to talk, because that's where real learning happens. We have out there online, you can listen to lessons, you can listen to courses, you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to videos that
we have created.
But that's great. But sometimes you just want to see the live person that you see on a video and say, you know what? Hey, what about this? And what about that? And we don't say we have every answer for every scenario and every situation, but we do have 35 plus years of being with one person and developing and growing and cultivating a relationship that is built on time, experience, pluses and minus, which is a good and bad. We don't say we have weaknesses. We have strengths and we
And
have
growth
growth
areas.
areas that you just need to work on a little bit more. So that's what we're here to just share with you, those years of experience, so it can maybe cut down on the learning curve. It can cut down on some of the things that you may experience.
And one of the things we realize, this is a great way for us to duplicate our efforts,
Mhm.
because we could talk to we today we just I was looking at the analytics and we actually have hit 85,000 views. And in my brain, that is mind boggling. You guys are the best community on the planet. We are so
Thank you.
grateful. Thank you for watching and subscribing and for sharing. So if we would just come on here once a week and do a live, we can help more people than any counselor in one office can help. Because Gil was was in the military and I was a hairstylist, and we both believed in having a process that was duplicatable and duplicating yourself. Well, guess what? This is the best way for us to help as many people as possible without them having to, one, pay a cost, because the cost we're asking is for a subscribe.
Or
Give us
thumbs
a
up.
thumbs up, leave us a comment. All of those things make a big difference in helping us to help people who are in need, because we really truly believe that we learn from one another.
Mhm.
And if we're willing to share what we know, like you said, we don't know everything, but we're open to you asking us questions and us giving you our feedback, as well as telling us these are some of the topics we want to talk about. Because sometimes you may be a little embarrassed or you may feel a little uncomfortable asking questions in an open forum like this. But you can send us an email at richrelationshipsrefuge@gmail.com, and then we can answer questions, because we want to make sure that we're not just people on a screen, but that we're people who can walk alongside you and talk to you and answer questions. Were there any questions in the?
Nope, that I see just people chiming in, just saying
Hey,
hello.
everybody! We're so glad you're here. Thank you for being here with us. So I'm gonna give another question
Okay.
that we got, and this was really more of a. She was saying, one of the people in our community said, "Thank you so much for creating this channel, because there's so much negative conversation around relationships that I almost wanted to give up hope about right now."
I would say the longest journey that you will ever take is the one inward. You have to really know who you are as an individual. When I say that, I mean, what do you like? What do you not like? What are you looking for in a significant other or a partner for life? Because sometimes if you're already in it, in a relationship, did you settle? Did you actually compromise, or did you just say, you know what, this is one that I've had for a long time and I'm comfortable? While all those things are good, is it something that you want to build over a lifetime? And sometimes, if you don't know what it is that you like and dislike, you're going to settle, you're going to compromise, you're going to just go along for the ride and not realize you're not going anywhere. If you're not going anywhere in the relationship that you've invested time, effort, energy, time,
Money.
time,
Time.
you don't get those things back.
Yeah,
You don't get it back, and there's nothing worse to know that you were investing in something and the other person wasn't invested as well as you are. If you're invested in a relationship that is growing and that is thriving and that is getting better, invest that time. But if you're investing and you don't see it being reciprocated, you don't see it being given back to you in equal portions or more, you really need to start evaluating, is it me? Is it me? Is it something that I'm just going along with, or am I comfortable? I hear, I don't know, is age a matter of time, where you say, I've been in this so long, or I'm at a certain point in my life where I just have to settle, or I'm just going to stick with what I got because I would rather have what I got than not have anything at all. Meaning, this person, if they are not bringing you joy and fulfillment, is it, do I really want to invest that time?
yeah. And I think a part of, like, like she was saying, she had lost hope. Well, I think sometimes, and we did, a part of this episode we did this week was about hope and expectation. I think sometimes we're confusing social media is beautiful as long as you're not using it as a gauge for your own life, because I think that it's important that we realize that we're all different and we all have different goals. We all have different there's a different plan for our life that God has for it. And so if we don't get into the comparison trap of saying, oh, well, so-and-so got married at this age and so-and-so got married at that age and they had a baby at this age, we have to be careful, because when we were growing up, there was nothing for us to look at other than like television. So we didn't have all these different images being put into our head about where we should be and what we should have and what we should drive and what kind of trips we should be going on. It was just basically our own imagination and the people around us that were in our life that helped us to kind of shape what our goals were. And so for the person who said that they were losing hope, I'm so grateful that we were able to provide them with hope, because that is our that's our passion, that's our desire. That if nothing else, if you see us doing the silly things that we do and creating content, that it just reminds you that this is not a game for us. We are not acting. We really genuinely love God and we love each other, and we want to show the world that marriage is a beautiful thing, but it is work.
And speaking of work, is